Hey, sports card fans, it's John Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. This is season 2, episode 11, in which I choose my top 5 favorite cards of a particular player. At the end of last week's video, I spun the wheel of names and it landed on Tony Perez. One of the National Pastimes great run producers, Atanasio Tony Perez Regal, was among the best when it came to driving in big runs for Cincinnati's Big Red Machine of the 1970s. Pete Rose would get his 200 hits, and Johnny Bench would do his thing, said former Perez teammate Pat Corrales, and Tony would get shoved in the background, driving in his 100 runs every year. You'd see it in the notes at the end of the stories in the paper. Oh, by the way, Perez hit a 3-run homer to win the game. Of the 1,652 RBI Perez collected over his 23-year big league career, which spanned from 1964 to 1986, the slugging first baseman and 7-time All-Star totaled 954 RBIs in the 70s, second only to Hall of Famer and former Reds teammate Johnny Bench's 1,013. With men in scoring position and the game on the line, said longtime opponent Willie Stargell, Tony's the last guy an opponent wanted to see. A native of Cuba, Perez left a job in a Havana sugarcane factory when he signed a minor league contract with the Reds in 1960. I ate chicken for a week one time, Perez said. It was the only word I knew. Chicken, chicken, chicken. Eventually, Perez would become a positive influence on those who came after him. Perez was a fatherly type in the clubhouse, especially to the Spanish ball players, said longtime Reds teammate Pete Rose. They looked up to him as well as relating to him through his background and language. By 1967, he had notched the first of 7 seasons with 100 or more RBI, as well as earning MVP honors in the 1967 All-Star Game by hitting a game-winning home run in the 15th inning off of future Hall of Famer Jim Catfish Hunter. Along the way, Perez compiled 9 seasons of at least 20 homers, finishing with a career total of 379. Perez, who played in 5 World Series, notched 3 home runs in the 1975 Fall Classic against the Boston Red Sox, including a 2-run shot in the Reds' 4-3 victory in Game 7. Perez was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2000. Now, to help me narrow down the choices that I have to pick my top 5 favorite Tony Perez cards, I went with the PSA Basic Topps Set Registry Checklist. It's 22 of his base Topps cards from his 1965 rookie card to his 1986 Topps card. Now, here's where I would love all of you to participate as well. In the description of this video, I'll have a link to the PSA Basic Topps Set Registry Checklist. And from those 22 cards, we'd love to know in the comments which are your top 5 favorite cards of his. And beyond those 22 base Topps cards, if there are some other Tony Perez cards that you really like, feel free to put them in the comments as well, and I'll have them as honorable mentions. And for your top 5 favorite, if you could number them 1 through 5, 5 through 1, it'll help me compile the results for next week's video. Now, before I get into my top 5 favorite Tony Perez cards, last week's video was on Minnie Minoso, and there were quite a few of you who put in the comments letting me know which were your top 5 favorite cards of his. So I'm going to start things off by going over the results of your comments from last week's video, see how your top 5 favorite Minnie Minoso cards match up with my top 5 favorite. Then I'll get into my top 5 favorite Tony Perez cards. And as opposed to the last couple of videos, I actually have a couple Tony Perez cards in my collection show. So I'll turn the camera around and show those 2 cards off. And then we'll wrap things up by spinning the wheel of names again to see which player will be the focus for next week's video. So let's get started. All right, for Mini Minoso, you had 16 cards to choose from to pick your top five favorite. They included his 1952 through 55 Bowman cards, his 1952, 53, 56 through 64, and his 1977 Topps Record Breaker card. All right, there were 8 of you who replied in the comments letting me know which were your top 5 favorite cards of his. And here are the top 5, actually 6 because of a tied number of selections, cards that you selected the most. Leading the way was his 1952 Topps and 1953 Bowman cards that each had 4 selections. Then there was a 4-way tie with his 1952 Bowman, 1953 Topps, 1959 Topps, and 1961 Topps card, all of them receiving 3 selections each. Now, there was a wide range of cards of his playing days. Of those 16 cards that you selected, there were only 3 cards that did not receive any selections: his 1955 Bowman card and his 1960 and 64 Topps cards. And there were a few honorable mentions beyond the 16 registry checklist cards, starting off with the 1945 Caramello Deportivo, then his 1954 Red Heart, his 1967 Retirado, then the 1988 Pacific Legends, and finally a custom card done by When Topps Had Balls in the 1965 Topps design. Really cool looking card there. All right, out of your top selected cards, how do they rank 1 through 5, and how do they match up with my top 5 favorite Mini Minoso cards? Well, at number 5, you had his 1959 Topps card, which I did not have in my top 5. At number 4 was his 1953 Topps card, which was close to making my top 5, but was just outside. At number 3, you had his 1952 Bowman card, which I had as my 5th favorite Mini Minoso card. Then the top 2 spots, we are in agreement. The average vote for you at the number 2 spot was his 1952 Topps card, and at number 1, his 1953 Bowman card. All right, for Tony Perez, again, we're working off his PSA Basic Topps Set Registry Checklist. 22 cards from 1965 to 1986 Topps. And at number 5, I chose his 1973 Topps card. Nothing super special about this card. I actually really like the background. You see some of the players warming up in the background. It's a standard posed shot that you often find on cards. But just the 73 Topps design, again, the background, I don't know. I really like this Tony Perez card. At number 4, I went with this 72 Topps card. Interesting, follow through swing there, the posed shot. But I think overall, the color scheme, while it's not a match to the Cincinnati Reds uniform, sometimes 72 Topps cards, the design, I don't care for as much with the colors. But for some reason, this just works. You have the stadium in the background, of course. That posed swing of his, and the reds and the green. I don't know, just looks. It's a very colorful card, and just one that I find appealing. At number 3, I went with his 71 Topps card. Really like how this goes with the Reds, Tony Perez in yellow, of course, that famous black border to the 71 Topps card. And this one's a little bit different. He's not looking right at the camera. It is a pose shot, of course, looking off up and to the side there. But the other thing that caught my eye, look at his batting glove. One, he's only using one batting glove, but it almost looks like a leather batting glove. Well, I guess all batting gloves are leather, but you typically see the standard white batting glove. So I'm not too familiar with the batting glove that he's wearing there, but I thought that was unique. I don't know if other players wore a similar batting glove than Tony Perez, or whether that was unique to him. But that was one thing I spotted in this card, which prompted me to put it on my list at number 3. At number 2, I went with his 1977 Topps card. It's a, I don't want to say it's a classic or standard pose of the 70s. What comes to mind, I think it's the 76 Gary Carter card, where he has a similar pose where he's reaching out and you see the end of the bat there, sort of like, coming right at you. To me, it's a classic late 70s type of pose. Not much going on in the background there. Yeah, he's on the field, but you don't see any other players. You don't really see too much of an outfield, probably at spring training, I would assume. But you have the Reds in red, so there's that color match there going on. But I just thought the pose there was just classic 70s, especially late 70s, where you see some other players in that similar pose. And at number 1, I didn't go with his rookie card. I went with his first solo card, his 1966 Topps card. Love the pose there. You don't normally see sort of a crouching fielding, especially for a first baseman. Maybe for a second baseman or a shortstop, they'll have them in that crouching fielding position. I just thought it was unique. Of course, love the Reds uniform from that time period. And of course, we're talking about the All-Star Rookie Trophy on the card. So many things that I love about this card, so I had to put this one, the 1966 Topps card, as my favorite Tony Perez card. All right, I'm going to turn the camera around now and show off the 2 Tony Perez cards that I have in my collection. For my 2 Tony Perez cards, the ones I have are toward the second half of his career. The first one is part of my 1978 Topps Hall of Fame run that I had completed until Dave Parker got elected to the Hall of Fame, and so now I need to pick up his card from 78 Topps. But there's the 78 Topps Tony Perez. Not sure what he's looking at. Maybe a play on the field. He's in the dugout, arms crossed. He must be thinking about something. They captured it there. But here's the back. And then my only other Tony Perez card is the following year, his 79 Topps card. Now, this one I have is a PSA 9. Bought it a few years ago for a decent price. It's gone up a little bit. If I were to buy this now, I probably wouldn't pick it up in a 9. But yeah, there's the back. So yeah, just 2 Tony Perez cards in my collection so far. Would really like to pick up at least his 66. As I continue my collection and try to go after all the Hall of Famers in the different sets from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, I'll eventually pick up more Tony Perez cards. But if I had to pick up another one, would love to have that 1966 Topps card with the All-Star Rookie Trophy. All right, on to the Wheel of Names to give it a spin to see which player it selects. All right, 29 names remain on the Wheel of Names. So let's give it a spin and see what player is selected. All right, next week's video is going to be on Fergie Jenkins. All right, I have a decent number of Fergie Jenkins cards. I know he has some ones that I really like, so will be fun doing a top 5 video for Fergie. And as a final reminder, in the comments, would love to know which are your top 5 favorite Tony Perez cards. And with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.